last time I was here, you talked about coming to Brazil and respecting the culture with the players and everything. How was your adaptation? Any time it was difficult in some way to put your weight in all the things?
Well, it's been very interesting, and I've been curious how I will deal with a new environment, and the big difference and the big challenge is actually a little bit of a culture. So in the very beginning, I was very excited, and then I got a little bit tired. And there is a word I learned very quickly was paciência. And that is important if you want to go from words, because there are some great words here, and go from words to action. Then I need to follow up, I need to be patient. I come from a country where it's very organized. So then I just have to adjust my way of working around certain things. On the field, I think it's been just fantastic. I've learned so many things, the way we're playing and the reflection and the feedback we get from the players. It's more outside the field that's been the biggest challenge, I would say.
And did you leave anything curious in Brazil in general, like something you remember, or I don't know, something that is remarkable to you?
Well, I think many things are remarkable. I think the things that come up to my mind is when I'm standing on the field and when I see one of the players, you know, they start to dribble or they make a play or the decision they're making. So they surprise me in a positive way, and it's so fast. And you really feel how fast it is on the field. And I just love that. That makes my day. When it comes to society, I've been a big fan of trees because there's big trees here in this country. And Jardim Botânico, I've been there, and I think that is something I was not interested in that in Sweden at all. But now I think is, wow, I just look around how what the world actually and the earth creates. I think that's cool. And then the downside is the traffic. Mamma mia, yeah, it's busy traffic, and I will never get used to that.
A lot of women start in the football the same way. They can't play, and they make their way through it. And how was it for you? And what made you love football?
You know, I come from a small village, and everybody is together with everybody. The society is great. And where I was born, I just started to like to kick the ball with my feet instead of toss it. Girls, they were supposed to toss the ball, and meanwhile the boys will compete. And so I don't know why. It just my neighbors, and then we start to play football. And after a while, I was so into it, and I really like to compete, and I really want to be in a team. Because I feel like I'm a team player. I would like to be around people where you bring out the best performance in each other. You have the word juntas, for instance. That's why I can be the very best when I'm around good people. So in Sweden, I played with boys. And then I think you just go for it. There's a lot of obstacles. You have an attitude back then in Sweden, and sometimes in the world still, that girls, they shouldn't play football. In the very beginning, they say, no, girls, they don't want to play football. But then you have this people movements, everybody starts to play football. And then they say, girls, they shouldn't play football, it's dangerous for them. You have knee, you have, they come up with crazy arguments, no research. And then they say girls, they can't play football, and they were comparing to boys and men and so on, and that is unfair because who are you to decide where it's good or bad? So I've gone through all these stages, I've gone through all these obstacles, and the women's game has find a way to go around or under or over all the obstacles and by working together. So that's why I come back to this word juntas again. And the drive is actually, it's fun. It's so much fun to kick that ball, and to do it together make it even more fun to do that.
There was a coach of yours that didn't call you by your name. There's this story, right?
Yeah, and that was a way. That's also a way to get around the obstacles. Girls were not supposed to play football, so actually it was cool. He changed my name, and instead of calling me Pia, it's a girl's name, he called me Pelle. And that was a boy's name. So I think for 1 or 2 years, I fooled around in the game with a real referee and real goals. And so by be called Pelle, I thought it was the best time of my life. So that's how you find your way. There is always a way.
And what motivates you these days? Like, still motivates you to be in football, to work with that, even if these days are still difficult. I think there will always be some difficulties.
Yeah, there's still difficulties. Absolutely. You have to fight for things and so on. But I think, first of all, I think it's fun. Yeah, I look back and there's been so many good moments in my life on the pitch. When I was a little girl, when I was playing myself on the highest level and coaching as well. So that's one thing. It's just fun, and if it's fun, you continue to do that, regardless if you have to go, you have to travel far away or not. So that is something, so much energy. When I bump into these difficulties, I actually look back and I look forward. Because whatever I'm doing with all the women and men for the women's game is for the next generation. So sometimes it is tough. I have to admit that. You know, it's sometimes even insulting. But if you just, take a breath, breathe a little bit, look at the words paciencia. Okay, there is a way. And then it comes with this word grit. And do something together. But so I know whoever is coming after me will have a better opportunities. So it was like I was a player. Yes, I was a professional player in Italy for a year, but look at the professional players in Italy today. It's such a big difference. I had some good coaches, and look at the coaches today, they're so much better. And whoever is taking this seat after me will not have to go through all these obstacles that I've gone through for 3.5 years. So it's a little bit of a place where you can make the difference, and that motivates me.
You have a lot of experience in this sport, and the World Cup's coming. How do you prepare for this kind of competition? Can you sleep?
Oh yeah, that's one of my best qualities. I just close my eyes and then relax. That's actually doesn't matter where I am. But it's very exciting because you look at that gold medal, and you look around and you see technical players. And if I want to gain some confidence, I just bring up some of the clips when Brazil played against US. No, we didn't win that game, but there are some moments that are fantastic. So if we can make those moments a little bit longer, a little bit more often, I think it's possible to do that. And it's my job is to make sure that we've gone through the tactics, we've gone through what we need, the basic stuff. And I'm saying in the World Cup, there will be 10 countries, at least 10 countries that can win the gold medal. And it's very competitive. So why couldn't it be us? Of course it can. Because if you look at certain moments in the game, this is world class. Now the challenging thing is to make those last for 90 minutes. Not only one game, many games. So you need You need a mindset, you need the attitude, you need endurance, for instance. And then you need to believe. And there is a chance, and all of us, we do have a chance. And my job is to make sure that we do the right thing on the pitch. I give feedback when they're doing very well and encourage them. So this is great. Just do it twice as much, whatever. So I had so much energy, so exciting because it's coming. The World Cup is just over there. Just we are on our way. So, and for me, it's all about the journey, and we can decide. We can't decide the result, but we can decide the journey, and that's exactly what's going on right now. And playing England, Germany, the next 2 games is fantastic. Organiza compactação. Compactação é sobre, Rafa e Tainara, é muito importante. Sobe, desce, sobe. Organiza, comunica, fala. Sempre, sempre. Em ataque, palavras desafia a linha. Desafia a linha sempre. Júlia, controladora, lembra?
Brazil have a tough way in the World Cup. Which Brazilian team gets there, like in the moment? And are we fighting for the gold medal, the title? Do you think Brazil today has the conditions to be the top?
Absolutely. We do have a chance, and that's what I'm saying. If you believe in something and you repeat it and you share your thoughts, and also the fact that you try to do better. Every day I try to do a little bit better, differently, or to communicate that. And I think, as I said, there are 10 teams, 10 countries, maybe even more, and Brazil is one of them. So if with the quality we have on the pitch, if we can, when it's the best football ever, to bring that every time we play, but also outside, because when you believe in something, there is a chance it will happen. So I'm really looking forward to the next day and the next day.
Do you think technically this can be the best World Cup in the history, or one of the best? All the teams.
Yeah, if you look back, since I played in the World Cup in China '91, and if you go through everything that happened in between 4 years, so many things happening and develop the women's game. And I think today it's not a big difference between the best team, the best player, and the worst team and the worst player. So if you compare to '91, for instance. And what's happening with the game is the speed of play. So when you say the technical part, maybe, but it's more like the decision making. I think that will make the difference. And if I look at the European Championship, England plays against Germany. That is a really good game, and that tells us, okay, this is kind of football we're gonna see in Australia.
And do you think the team is the way you imagined at this point when you arrived? Like, what all the changes you made throughout these years, is the team the way you wanted?
Oh, it's getting better. I have to say that. We were, I think, in the Olympics, for instance, we were solid and a little bit unlucky, I'd have to say, against Canada. But what I like with this team now is we have still some experienced players. Marta is back in business. Hafa, just to mention 2 players. And Tamiris, of course, our mother. So if you take those and have the combination with the young players, they've never been to the World Cup. So we don't know actually how they will react, but I know that they have the ability. And that is my job, to make sure that they believe in their ability. They dribble, they take the space, they are fast, and of course, to make the right decision on the pitch in the right moment. If that is an atmosphere that we can do it, they're gonna do it, and there will be a very, very successful journey. So I think it's possible. And the way we've been working is with the defending fairly solid. There is a little bit more we can do better, and that is, I would put it like final pass. If the final pass is a little bit more precise, because look where we keep possession the ball, and talk about fast, especially counterattacks. But if we final pass is a little bit better, more precise, we have a big chance to score goals. Yes, we're getting there. I wouldn't say that we are there, but in a year or two, it will be better and better.
Gente, muito obrigada, Marta. Welcome back to the real world.
France is one of the toughest teams in the competition, and Brazil have them on the way. But they're going through some hard times there off the pitch and with the coach and everything. How are you seeing this moment, and what do you expect of them in the World Cup?
We have played against France a couple of times, and when I look at France is dynamic and 1-versus-1. So we have to deal with 1-versus-1. We have to deal with the flank defensively, and at the same time, when we keep possession and decide whether we go for counterattack or not. The situation they've gone through, it could be difficult for them, but it could also be the other way around. So you don't know, because we've done our homework. You know, I don't know how many games I watched. And now when they get a new coach, you have to restart and look, what is he doing differently? Is he bringing out different players, but also the playing style? So we have a lot of work in front of us, homework we need to do. So let's see.
You've been making some changes in the last games due to injuries, most of them. But is the final list to the World Cup almost close, or not yet? It's still a long way to go.
No, it's almost there. We have the core players, and there will always be, in the very last minute, there will always be a chance for any of the players that are playing well in the club teams. So even though, let's say, there are players not in this roster this time, there's still a chance. If you play well, we're gonna bring in that player. I think we have found a little bit of our playing style, and we found the players in the right position. And going to the World Cup, we really need different kinds of starting lineups. I think that's necessary to be able to tweak the attack and defending and do different things. Have an A plan, B plan, and C plan, and that is very important.
Are you proud of your work to today, and do you think there was some mistake along the way, and what was the biggest hit where you were most successful at?
Of course, I'm very proud of just standing next to a Brazilian player. That is something special. What we've been doing and be kicked out in the Olympics in the quarterfinal still hurts a little bit. We could have done better, and on and off the pitch actually. And there is certain things we learn from the mistakes, and we are trying to do differently going forward. And I think this moment, it's like I talk about the World Cup and believing something. It's important to don't take anything for granted. Doesn't matter who you play. We're going to play Panama the first game. And we have to make sure that we don't take any for granted. We're going to play as the winners. And if you continue to do that, I think I could have done a better job during the Olympics. It's the players, but also the players could have gotten more support from the staff, so to speak. So I've learned my lesson. There is a moment when we play Copa America. Actually, when in the final, Colombia is a good team, and the penalty kick, Dubinja scored the goal 1-0. And the last 2 minutes is for very stressful. And that is just a little bit of taste how it will be in the World Cup. Now we won the Copa America, and to be a winner, that is contagious. So that is a very good moment for us. But also when we went to She Believes Cup, we played the US 2 years ago, and now we're playing them again. If I compare those two games, I think there is improvement from our side, and it was a very interesting game, and we have so many great footage from that game, and that is the first ranked team in the world. So we're going to bring that in order to boost our confidence and so on.
You were part of a key moment in Brazil that is the transition of generations. Formiga left, Marta is still here, but we don't know how far she will go. Cristiane is out of your list, but those three were like pillars of our national team. How was it to make these decisions, to like bring younger players or believing in different like names?
I think it's difficult, but I've learned one thing, because I experienced the same thing in US and actually in Sweden as well. When you don't bring in, comes to don't take anything for granted. When you don't bring in experienced player, you have journalists asking, this and that. But and there will be a conversation with the players or whatever. I always go back. I'm a team player. What is best for the team? So if you look at the time we have going to the World Cup and the transition coming in with new players, we made a decision there. I don't think everybody liked it, but it doesn't matter. We made a decision. Okay, if we're gonna compete on the highest level, and I'm talking about those 10 countries that are gonna win the World Cup, we need to have the courage, and that's an important word, coragem, to make that decision and stick with it. That means in the very beginning with the younger players, and I have a good example with Ari. She's a good example. The first time she was called up, well, interesting, but it took a while before she actually started to shine. And now she's in US and plays and so much energy and a good player and so on. So you have to be patient with the player, because you have just given away many years when Formiga's not even here. So instead you bring in a lot of enthusiasm. They are a little bit nervous, but you have to deal with that, because if the young player grows on you, and they will also be contagious for the team. So that is a little bit of a balance. You can't just get away of all the players, all experienced players. I think it's important to have a little bit of a mix. I wish to have a little bit more experience. On the other hand, I just look at those Ari, Caroline, or Tainara, or I think they're gonna be fine.
In addition to that moment, CBF also has passed through some changes along the way you're here, including the problem with Rogério Caboclo. I know it was a tough moment for the women's too. How was it? How does that impact on your job? The changes, all the changes, the presidents and everything. Does that impact at all at your job? Like you have one boss and then the other and all of that.
I have to admit, it's stressful, because if you want to create something, a team that is successful and so on, you need some patience. And I've gone through a couple of changes. I think it was whenever everybody went through the COVID time, that was just what's happening. Nothing happened. Not in Brazil, not in Sweden, nowhere. And that was difficult. So I think I missed a couple of months, unfortunately, even though I've been there for 3.5 years. So when you get the new boss, you have a little bit start over again, because it's a give and take. So if you want to create something in the future, you have to tell the story again and again. I try to do my very best, and it is what it is. And I've never experienced this before. So when I was in US, it was solid. And when I was in Sweden, it was solid. There was a plan for success, so to speak. And that is something that is different from here when it comes to supporting. I just give you one example. We have talked about the pathway for talented players. And that's something I've seen in US, and specifically in a small country like Sweden. So you bring up certain things when they are 15, 16, 17, and even earlier. So they are prepared for the Swedish way, so to speak. And we have talked about that. And I think that's such a great moment where you see a player, she dreams about to represent Brazil. She's young, and then she goes all the pathway, and she feels the support. We don't have that. And I have not been able to put that in place. So that's a little bit of a, in this case, I don't have the ability. I'm not good enough to do that. So I have concentrated on the full team instead. But I still think it's important for the future actually to have youth national teams, and with the U15 and so on, what they do in many other countries.
This week we published an interview with Formiga where she criticizes Sao Paulo, the structure. And Sao Paulo is one of the biggest clubs in Brazil in the masculine team. You are following close the evolution of women's football in Brazil. How do you see that scenario where big clubs still don't offer the big structures of the male team to the women's team?
I would say it's the same old story. You can take any country in the world, I guess, more or less. And there are, you have football, but when you say football in many countries is men's football, and especially in the clubs, and they have decided they're gonna support the men. So it's a little bit of a money, it's a little bit of a politics, it's a lot about attitude. And it's a long way to go. We just have to admit that. If I go back to how you treat women in general, in the society. So if you look at in the federation, when you represent Brazilians, everybody's talking about equal payment, okay? I'm talking about equal treatment. So we have the same kind of support. When it comes to all things, you need to have to be professional and win the next game, so to speak. And if you want to make that happen in the clubs as well, you have to work for it over and over again and just point out. And I think the best thing is talk about attitude. What do you really think? You have this family. There is a boy and there's a girl. And both of them, they just love football. How could you help them to make sure that they do what they love? They play football, and if they want to try to be the best and professional, is there a chance? So you have to provide them the opportunities. And today is not equal, and I think it comes down to attitude, actually.
You mentioned the equal pay. It's a campaign around the world, I think. And what do you think about that? Do you think one day we can get to that point where women and men can?
Yeah, it will take a while, but I really like the voice. If you look at the social media, you can tell that if you watch a game, it's if you love football, you love both men, women, girls and boys. If you're really a true lover of football, and it's a little different. If I watch a game here, the men, or if I go to Europe, Sweden, it looks different. But still, it's football 11 versus 11. If it's the equal payment, we just have to just ask the questions over and over again. Why do you put more money here and not here? We do the same. We are on the same pitch, pretty much. It will take a while, but I really like the voice. And if there's many voice, there will be a choir. And the choir sounds so great.
In 2019, Brazil established an obligation for the male teams to have women team. Do you think there is a way there, or maybe not the best way to deal with the situation?
I think that could be a good way, absolutely. But then you have somebody to follow up, because if you just decide something, and there will only be words, and if you don't follow through with actions, and the thing is, I think it's important that they understand how important it is for the society, I would say. Because, as I said, you get a family and you have boys and girls. Don't you want them, if they want to play football? So, well, should there be any difference? And you have to deserve that kind of pathways. You have to work for it. So I think that is one way to go, but it has to follow up with some sort of actions. And when you share that voice, share that words, you need to have the heart with you as well. Otherwise, it's only words.
Wow.